Today I'm going to be giving you a review of an '06 Cyborg. Um, First thing I noticed when I first got my Cyborg was that it's pretty lightweight for its size. It looks rather large, but really with the stock barrel, this isn't the stock barrel, this is a Sanchez Machine Orbium 3. The stock one is a MacDev Matchstick 14-inch 689 bore. With the stock barrel, it's fairly light. I believe it's a little over 2 pounds, including barrel, rag, and battery, so it's really not as heavy as it might look, because it does look fairly large. I'm not really impressed by the stock trigger. It's just a flat blade, not very adjustable, spring return micro switch, which is the good part. This is the Warp Sports Violent trigger, designed and marketed for the Droid. Also fits the '06 and '07 Cyborgs. Feels much better, magnetic return, still micro switch, much more adjustable in every way. Um, Feels great, easy to walk. The consistency on this thing is incredible. Using a 689 bore here on paint that was roughly, I guess, 690 or 691. Diablo Heat, really just practice grade, rec grade paint, not that high end. I was getting plus or minus 3 or 4 feet per second with this thing, which I think is incredible. How you set the pressure on this thing, if you don't have a gauge, there's a gauge port here, which I kind of see the outline of the plug there. You would normally have a gauge here, and you would set your pressure to 200 psi, and then you would just use your LPR to chronograph. What I like to do though is set my pressure to 200 psi. What I use for that is just a spare ASA, 0 to 300 psi gauge, and what I do is I just first of all take off the macro line, unscrew the regulator, reattach the macro line, and then screw this ghetto pressure tester onto the top of my regulator, like this. See? And then what happens is when I turn on my ASA and air up the gun, it'll show me the pressure of my regulator. So I start with the screw all the way in, so the pressure's off, and slowly back it out until it shows 200 psi. From there, I take off the pressure tester, remove the macro line, make it easier to screw in, put it back on the gun. Okay. And then you would air it back up. You would screw out completely, all the way outward, the LPR screw until the gun doesn't cycle anymore. And slowly, while pulling the trigger, adjust it back inward until it starts to cycle but doesn't actually open the valve. And then get right to the point where it just begins to fully open the valve and turn an extra quarter turn. And then use your Gladiator regulator to get roughly the velocity you're looking for. I play mostly indoors, so my limit is 250, 260-ish. So I get it around 250-ish and then fine-tune using the LPR. Doing that, I get this thing to have almost no kick. It's around a case of a 6845. Pretty quiet, especially for a popped valve. Especially with this barrel, you can see it has ridiculous porting. Really lightweight too. And yeah, great gun. I put an '07 valve in here. Makes it a little bit quieter. Doesn't do much else because it gives you a Delrin pop it instead of an aluminum one. I just put a new barrel on here because I wanted to try something besides a matchstick. Definitely don't regret it. This is an amazing barrel, but then again, for almost 200 American, it should be. Put a new feed neck on here, just a little bit lower. Fits a lot better with my rotor. As you can see, the feed neck lengths here are almost the exact same, so it sits very low. I'll actually show you. Okay, there you go. You can see, it sits very low on there. If you actually pop up the bolt pins, almost touching the anti-jam trigger. Put an Eclipse ASA on here because I needed to buy a new on-off. Didn't really like the old one that came with it. There is no stock ASA on the '06 Cyborg because it never came with any. Mine came with a CP rail and on-off that I wasn't all that fond of. So yeah, that's about it. I love this thing. Great gun. Comfortable to hold. Easy to snap with. Pretty lightweight. Trigger's personal preference. I find with the Violent it's a lot more comfortable and easy to use. It's fast. 33 balls per second, maybe 34. I think is what a Cyborg is uh, has been recorded doing with paint. My rotor doesn't actually go that fast. It goes maybe 20 with my rotor on it, but dry firing or using other hoppers, it definitely goes faster. And yeah, really great gun. You could pick these up used, especially on Paintball Nation, other large sites, for under 500 American. And really, I'd say that's an amazing gun for the price. For 500 bucks, you really can't get many other popping valve guns that compete with this, except maybe a Protege. Really, that's about it. I wouldn't even really say an E-Tech compares to this. Really, I guess '07 E goes in that price range as well. That would sort of compete. Might be a bit louder and less efficient, but smaller, lighter, whatever. You might like the trigger better. I don't know. Maybe you just like playing clips and jackwood. No reason not to. Um, yeah, that's about it. Great gun.